Greetings, folks. Welcome to Off Base Soliloquy, where if you like our sidebars, then you'll love this. With me is my intellectual spirit and good friend, the Authenticator, aka Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening, folks. We suffered through Batwoman, so you don't have to. May some kind of deity have some kind of mercy on some kind of souls.
Also joining us is the Innocence Destroyer and another friend of mine, Corrupt.
Yo, what's good? That was terrible. Oh my god, it was so bad.
Yeah. And I'm your host / anti-hero paragon, the Brainstormer Pop Culture.
I like your title there, by the way.
Thank you.
He's very good with the imagery when it comes to those.
Yeah. So, right. But first, a word from our sponsor. We do not have one.
We will eventually, hopefully, brought to you by you when we get enough of a fan base to justify having like a crowdfunding website of some kind. But until then, we do this gratis, basically, because somebody has to deal with the stupid. And my words is Batwoman, the stupid.
But first, let us move on to our first topic, because I want us to at least try to be happy for the first 10 or so minutes. Underrated comic book villains. You want to start off, or
Start us off, Dalton.
Well, in terms of the mainstay underappreciated villains, I've always enjoyed Temple Fugit, aka the Clock King, who is a lesser appreciated part of Batman's rogue gallery. I've always liked him because he's always struck me as evil Phileas Fogg from Around the World in 80 Days.
Mm-hmm.
I remember him.
Yeah, he had one really great episode in Batman the Animated Series.
He got away.
Yeah, and then they gave him actual time manipulation powers, and it kind of ruined his character. I actually kind of like the almost twisted Sherlock Holmes thing where he can figure out what people are gonna do based on time and schedules, and I think if I remember correctly, he was an efficiency expert gone evil.
Yeah, and he could recognize patterns. Basically.
And I really enjoyed that kind of. It's one of the reasons I've always enjoyed Sherlock Holmes as a character, because he doesn't have any special powers. He's just really good at noticing the shit that people don't pay attention to normally, and as a result, he can conjure presumably grandiose things out of very simple things that other people don't notice. And as someone who is very efficiency, I have a very strong proclivity towards logic and efficiency and noticing patterns and shit like that. Seeing a character who can apply that kind of thing in a practical manner is very cathartic for me.
Violator.
Oh,
from Spawn.
I remember Violator from
very different character, but yeah.
I love Violator from the Spawn movie.
You've been violated, Carnival.
Yeah, he's so fun. I mean, he is a piece of shit. Don't get me wrong, but goddamn, he is so fun.
Basically, that's what would happen if you gave the Joker godlike powers. That's exactly.
He'd be Violator.
That's exactly who Clown Stroke Violator is the Joker gone the Joker given godhood, basically.
I initially wanted to say Apocalypse, but he isn't an underappreciated villain. But he isn't underappreciated. So I guess I'll go with the Riddler because I feel like he's underappreciated. I feel like people often ignore him because he's like, oh, silly Riddle man, in favor of in favor of the Joker.
Speaking of characters who got a really great episode on something once, if you are a fan of the WB The Batman series,
Oh, I love the Batman series.
he got a really great episode, and I think it's the one time where I've actually seen the Riddler done right, where he's actually seen as kind of both sympathetic and threatening at the same time, because like Corrupt said, he's always kind of seen as this basically a puzzle master with OCD, but no, the Riddler is actually, I've always seen the Riddler and the Joker as sort of two sides of the same coin, where one is very chaotic and very sort of existential in their thinking. The Riddler is very, everything is a puzzle, everything has a solution, everything is in the kind of spastic, almost autistic level of order and bringing logic to things.
Yeah, I remember the episode you're talking about. It's where the Riddler he first became. I think it was his origin story of how he became the Riddler. Because
his dad didn't appreciate his obsession with like riddles and puzzles, so he really grew to hate the like stereotypical macho jock asshole behavior. And then when a businessman that he was working for that gave him like a grant or something to do his research started pulling that shit, he kind of lost it, and so his girlfriend cucked him completely by blaming him for murder.
Yeah, his girlfriend completely cucked him over, and then what was really funny about that was that like Batman felt like sympathy for him and kind of thought his girlfriend was really dirty. I love that.
When is a villain not the villain is probably the great line from there.
Exactly. Oh, you know what? I just thought of somebody. I don't know if this counts. I liked not the official Clayface, but the original Clayface from the Batman. That was one of my favorite villains. Even though he's technically not the actual Clayface.
Mm-hmm.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name now.
Another one that I'm gonna throw out there. He's still a superhero, like a comic book villain, but he's not in one of the mainline universes, and that is Mr. Glass from the Unbreakable trilogy.
I love Mr. Glass and the Beast. Mr. Glass and the Beast. I love that.
Yeah, I really. It's gonna sound fucked up, but I actually kind of really relate to Mr. Glass, and I love basically that trilogy resolves with him getting everything he wanted, and even though he didn't live through it, because when you're literally made of glass, what are you gonna live through? I guess is the ultimate question. So. If living isn't an option, you need to start asking yourself what's worth dying for, and he made his choice.
I loved when the Beast started running around like rampaging outside of the asylum on all fours, and then he threw over a cop car. I loved everything about that movie.
I like the music.
So did I. I like the music as well. I will say I didn't like the end. I thought it was really anticlimactic. That's the only thing I didn't really like about it was the end. And I didn't like what?
I like the ending because I thought it worked for his character. Because again, when you're made of glass, you don't really expect to live through things, especially not when you're doing the like grand manipulative schemes. But it's a question of what are you willing to die for, and what he was willing to die for was showing everyone that superheroes exist and that human beings could essentially be better. It goes back even to the first movie in Unbreakable when his mother says they always underestimate the mastermind. And I also absolutely loved the relationship between him and his mother when he's doing his final sort of gambit thing and she just looks at him and says, "You were spectacular."
It was it's not so much the way he died, like I assumed I expected him to die. It's the way in which the movie itself ended was the issue that I had was the issue I had with it. I want that, and I felt like they spent too much time in the facility.
I will agree
felt
with
like
that. It took way too long to actually bring in Mr. Glass and get things going.
Yeah, I felt like it took too long.
I do hope eventually that M. Night Shyamalan revisits that universe and actually gives us a world in which, now that everyone knows that superheroes are a thing and everyone, like, now that fire has been started, where did it go? What happens as a result of it? Like, I feel like the Unbreakable trilogy is what happened, like, in the lead up to a superhero universe. So now I want to see M. Night Shyamalan's take on a proper superhero universe almost.
So do I. Like, I just like everyone's so obsessed with realism, though. Like, but yeah, I'd like to actually see his take on the universe. It would be interesting.
That was the massive improvement I thought that Glass had over Unbreakable, and I do think Glass was the best of the trilogy. Where Glass was interested in, or where Unbreakable was interested in being a quote unquote deconstruction of the superhero genre, Glass was just like, nope, fuck it, we're going all the way. We're actually gonna be a superhero movie now.
I like the idea of it.
It was very small scale because budget, and also it was still the same characters, but I felt like at some point in the fall from grace that he had, M. Night Shyamalan got sick of doing deconstructions of everything and was just like, nope, I'm gonna go all the way. I'm gonna actually embrace what this is, and I think that made Glass a much better movie than Unbreakable, in my opinion.
I'm glad he did, because I do find all the constant what do you call them, the constant deconstructions lately tiresome, and there are a lot.
Like, can we not actually just embrace what things are? Do we always have to preface everything with like 50 different apologies? We're sorry this is so weird. We're sorry this is so out of the norm. We're sorry this is so this and this is so that. No, that's exactly what we come for. Embrace what you are, you stupid fucks.
I'm sorry, we're a superhero movie, but everyone wears tactical gear and army pants, so see, it's kind of realistic.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about reality. If I was even standard reality is more interesting than this. So go.
Yeah.
Just give me what I come here for, basically.
It's like, I remember how video games used to be obsessed with everything being super realistic and hyper gritty. That's basically reality now. That's basically entertainment now. Everything has to be hyper realistic.
And then they wonder why a movie like The Joker that embraces what it is and actually finds a way to do the Joker justice makes all the money. Like,
almost $1 billion.
If you just take things seriously and treat them with the respect they deserve, lo and behold, you make a movie that's actually worth paying attention to. Who knew?
Exactly. We don't.
Like
Not everything.
I feel sometimes like I'm taking crazy pills, like because I say really what to me is obvious shit, and people act as though it's this big revelation, and it's a little bit like the Sherlock Holmes thing. You don't. Genius isn't making grand assumptions out of thin air. Genius is just noticing the obvious shit that no one else thinks is worth paying attention to.
Right. So I guess we're done with underrated comic book villains.
Yeah, if you guys are.
Yeah, I'm good. So moving on to kind of our crux now. Because
Batwoman.
because we were busy with October, or as I call it, Bootober, but we're working on a name.
October is what I prefer, but that's just me.
I like
If we must put boo into October somehow, I prefer October.
October. It sounds like a Bond villain.
I will probably do that. Rewrite that playlist later. But yeah, we weren't able to watch Batwoman like we had originally planned and review it during the month of October as well. For the record, it comes out on Sunday for some reason. At the time we do our podcast, that would
Because they didn't have enough faith to put it in a time slot. That's why.
no. So yeah, we're gonna be reviewing the first 5 episodes that came out, and well, I've only seen the first 3 and half of the fourth because I couldn't watch any more of it.
Also, Brainstormer, you're kind of echoing a little bit. I don't know if that's for anybody else, but for me, he's echoing a little bit.
I think that might be corrupt.
All right, let me mute then.
Okay. But yeah, hold on. I have a picture for the topic. And give me a second. No, wait. Okay. There we go. And that's a good picture right there. Yeah. Okay. I didn't take any notes. I feel bad. Honestly, overall, the show is okay. It's yeah, the Batwoman show is fine for what it is. I do think the marketing for it, which was like supposed to be like this ultra feminist whatever show, it's really not. And I think the marketing, it was false marketing all over the place.
It's honestly worse that it doesn't embrace the wokeness all the way.
I didn't get that. I have the complete opposite opinion. I think it's not super woke, but it is woke. Like,
well, I'm not
episodes. Well, the episode with Magpie was nothing but talk about like it was nothing but patriarchy, privilege, and like what's and hear me roar, I'm a woman. Like I don't know. That's the impression I got from it.
Well, it's sad though now that that's basically like default levels of wokeness, and it didn't. Like honestly, I think if it had gone like full Ghostbusters 2016 or full Captain Marvel, it honestly would have been more entertaining because at least it would have been so laughable as to be funny. But unfortunately, instead they go the bland route of we're going to suck your soul out with boredom, and
yeah,
it's a little bit sad. It got worse as the show went on. I definitely think the first 2 episodes were the least objectionable, and then episode 3 just began this slow downward spiral of cringe and wokeness.
I think, I agree.
Well, again, like I don't really notice that kind of stuff until it's like pointed out to me,
Mm,
and
I
I just look at it objectively, on its own merits, and it sucks by its own merits. There's uh, there's no writing is pretty bad. Like characterization is bad.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the writing actually, because I haven't been as annoyed by writing since like late season Once Upon a Time. That's how bad the writing is. And this is supposed to be the first fucking season of Batwoman, and it's already spiraling the drain
So
of late season Once Upon a Time level writing.
the writing is terrible. It's meandering, and the characters are unlikable, and there's no one. So there's no one really for you to root for. Like in the show, everyone is obnoxious and likable in some way. I think some people like Alice. She's kind of hammy to me, but
Yeah,
I
see,
can get why people would
like
like her.
Alice, but I generally like over the top villains more.
Yeah,
So
I
like
get. Go
I
ahead.
wanted basically just an episode. I wanted basically just a show about her doing random villain shit.
Yeah, I can understand why people would like Alice because, like, at least she's the only character that's remotely interesting, whereas everyone else is either unlikable or poorly written and just two dimensional. I just couldn't say
Going
any
back
characters.
to my Once Upon a Time comparison, I think she is to Batwoman what Rumpelstiltskin was for Once Upon a Time. Like even in a bad episode, I can at least go, well, at least she'll be on screen soon, and I can enjoy her chewing some scenery.
Like personally, though, I just found it boring. Really.
Yeah, same. It's like Captain Marvel for me on the fact that it's also pretty forgettable. Like I barely remember anything from any of the episodes, and I've been like the first 3 in 2 days. And I watched episode 4 last night. Barely remember it.
Yeah, and like I said, the only saving grace, as far as I'm concerned, is that now that it's kind of trying to do something. It's trying to do something epic and failing at it so interestingly that at the very least the last 2 episodes or so have given me stuff to at least think about rather than the first 3 episodes just like random scene of people talking, random trying to be romantic but failing miserably, and incidentally as a bisexual dude, really feeling fucking patronized right now. In regards to their quote unquote relationship. Fuck all y'all.
That was the blandest fucking sex scene I've ever seen in my fucking life. This they start off the episode with like this boring fucking sex scene with 2 actors who have no charisma whatsoever, and I'm just looking at them kiss, and it's just this is bland. Holy shit!
Again,
Like, okay, this is how bad the sexual chemistry is. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else has seen the movie Old Fashioned. It's a like pure flicks. It's a fundamentalist Christian answer to 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, I think we talked over Brainstormer, by the way.
Sorry.
No problem. What were you saying, Brainstormer?
well, I was just okay, correct. I think you're echoing us again.
Let me mute.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is, I think, and I was telling to Dalton like that about we were talking a little bit about this before stream. It has good ideas, like there are interesting concepts in there. I just think they haven't really executed nor really gone either. They haven't gone full into them, or they haven't properly developed them enough. Because I think the things in there can work. It's just more of they don't work on the writers not actually being capable fucking writers.
Again, it reminds me a little bit of late season Once Upon a Time in the sense of they will set up something that will make me give a shit for like all of 5 seconds, and then they will do nothing with it. Like I want to say it's episode 4, but it might be episode 5. There is a subplot where Alice is taking skin grafts from from corpses in morgues, and we don't really know what she's doing with them for most of the episode. So I'm sat there thinking, okay, is she like setting up to resurrect like Solomon Grundy? Are they setting up Ragman? Are they like is she building some kind of monster? Are we doing a Frankenstein version of Bane again? Like any number of these could be more interesting. And then it turns out, nope, she's just getting skin grafts for this one character that she has a backstory connection with, the dude that she was locked up with by this one dude, and it's just I don't care. Fuck.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a bit of a dick, and I'm gonna be like, I mean, what do you expect from this show? Like, the show, like, so the show in no way like is something that it in no way presents itself as being like ambitious or interesting. Like, if you a lot of the plots aren't particularly like complex or intricate. They're everything is fairly shallow. Like, she like imprisoned Alice's boyfriend and tortured him so that she could get information, right? And that went nowhere until she had him until she had her, what is it? I think her stepsister like heal him up, and he got like and she got some information about Mouse. And I mean, that's it.
Don't get me started on that stepsister. I hate that actress. Every time she's on screen, I roll my eyes. I think the character, like on paper, works for me, but the actress is just so bad that
I can't believe she went out with a man. Oh my god, that's so icky. Like, that shit is what I mean when I say woke cringe.
no, it's not that. It's more of the actress's capability of being or lack
No, I was just saying that was an example of what I meant by like woke cringe, when it's just like, oh, I can't believe she went out with a man. Ew. Like,
Yeah, I will say I do like a few things. There are a few things I do like about the show. Just so we're not completely negative.
What?
The original score, I like the score a lot. It's a lot different from like the other CW shows, and it's just got a unique style and tone to it.
Like what, for example?
The Batwoman theme.
I'm not being a dick, but like, the show is so bland. Like, I don't even know it. I don't notice that it has a theme. Honestly, it's just sort of boring, techno-y music to me. Like, I don't know.
Right, and on the topic of the music, every time they play something that isn't the background score, i.e., when they try to incorporate an actual song, I'm just like, why the fuck is this here? It makes no sense, and it's really terrible as like background music for what's actually going on in the scene. I'm sat there like, sweet merciful Calliope, will you people learn to use music properly?
All right. Well, what else were you saying since we interrupted you there, brainstorming?
I like the set design. I like how a lot of the places look. It's a plus for me. And I guess it's kind of a drinking game at this point when I talk about like filmmaking stuff.
Yes. So drink
Twice.
Yes.
So yeah, I like how it looks like a Gotham, and it also looks like it. Well, it looks like obviously a city that one lives in. Obviously, it's like a modern Gotham, essentially. If that makes sense.
All right. Yeah.
It's decrepit. there's trash. There's like homeless tents and stuff everywhere. It, hell on earth essentially, like Gotham usually is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the back looks pretty good. Yeah.
Although I will say my bar for Gotham at the moment is extremely high, having just watched Joker, where they do a version of Gotham that's a lot better. I understand that they have to use a TV budget for this because CW, but like after seeing how well they did Gotham in Joker, I can't allow for just you did the basic shit you should have done to really count.
Yeah, like I feel like I kind of feel like everything you mentioned are things that are like basic things they should have done. Like these are things. These are like the baseline for what a show should be, and then you have everything else. Like I'm not trying to be like a killjoy. It's just I could not find anything remotely redeemable about the show other than I guess Alice is like mildly amusing sometimes. Curiouser and curiouser.
Oh, like, okay, again, like I just want to see a version of Alice in Wonderland with this, to be honest with you, because like every time they made a Wonderland reference, it was 1,000 times more interesting than anything else that was going on. And when they introduced Magpie, I'm just like, why are we dealing with anyone other than Alice? She is the one redeeming quality of the show, and you're taking screen time away from her because fucking reasons.
Matt.
I wonder if you guys realize it's a 22 episode season.
Fuck. And
they introduced did y'all catch Hush in the third episode?
Thomas Elliott, yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking hate how they treat a lot of the characters in this show.
Yeah, so do I.
Like guys, you can't do Hush. I'm sorry. I appreciate your attempt at ambition, but you fucking morons have no business using one of the greatest Batman villains of all time. Fuck off.
My mother was a gold digging whore.
That's not Hush.
And I had to wipe the drool from her lips. I hate Batman.
Oh god.
Okay.
He was the only part of the episode. Like, I liked him for all the wrong reasons. Like, he's like the best, worst character I've ever seen. Like the way he talks.
He reminded me a little bit of Cole from Charmed. Like, you know what I mean? How he just kind of stumbles ass backwards into just vaguely incompetent evil every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yes.
I will say I also like Batwoman's costume, like the full costume, not like the proto one.
With the wig?
Yeah, it looked really good, I think.
Like I feel like the outfit was meant for someone who had a slightly larger frame than is it Ruby Rose? Than Ruby Rose? I feel like it had because I feel like it's slightly not like it's not like she's in like a clown outfit, but I feel like the costume needs to be a little slimmer.
Well,
she needs to fill it out more, basically.
Yeah,
I think you're saying.
I think in show technically it is like a refurbished Batsuit,
which to me makes no sense. Because like, okay, if it was a Robin suit, I could see them getting by this because Robin is a kid and that's very slight build and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like,
Batman has a wide build, so it wouldn't. So like, Batman has a very wide male build. Ruby Rose is very small and very svelte. So if it was a refurbished outfit, it wouldn't even fit her.
See, I feel bad for Ruby Rose because Well, look, how I was introduced to that actress was John Wick Chapter 2, where she played the character Ares.
Oh, I loved her character. I love that character when she grabbed his ass. I love that. She was like a bodyguard. I love that.
Badass. Yeah. I feel like she's being given shit for this character.
Yeah, she is. I love that character though. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and like she's got Tehillim 29. Hello, good to see you too.
Yo, Tehillim. Like I think I think I let everybody on Twitter know this, but my PC is basically like I don't know how long I'll be around because my PC is freezing and locking up like at random times. So I'm probably not going to be around for like at least a good bit. I have Dalton on. I can text Dalton though, so whenever I need to like talk to other people here.
Okay. Yeah. All in all, those are pretty much my only good things to say about Batwoman.
Did you like the? I will admit that I don't know as much as everyone else does about Hush, but the way he was portrayed was so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a very insulting portrayal.
Speaking of insulting portrayals, because I'm doing a rewrite of Batwoman. Even before I started watching the show, I knew I was going to do one just based on the trailer we watched months ago. So I did research, right? Because I do that, like people are supposed to do.
Yeah.
And for one thing, Kate Kane as a character is actually pretty interesting in the comics in terms of origin.
Yeah, a lot of she's actually a popular character.
Yeah. I didn't know much about Batwoman prior to like the show and stuff. I'd heard some things. Tehillim 29, hopefully you're able to get your PC fixed corrupt. It's corrupted, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm giving myself a look
exposure to the source of primal corruption. We'll do that to basically anything.
I'm giving myself the look I normally give Dalton for puns.
It's almost as though it's contagious, isn't it?
What are you doing to me, Dalton? All right, but
it's good for you. Just embrace the sickness. It's good for you.
Right, but I was looking up character Lucas Fox, son of Lucius Fox, who is in the show.
Yeah.
In the comics, he's a badass motherfucker. In the fucking show,
he's emasculated.
Yeah, he's emasculated.
He's
in the comics,
IT nerd the character.
In the comics, he studies. He graduates from MIT full honors and all that, right? Then he goes back to Gotham, getting a job there that was offered to him after he got offers from various different other places. He started training in MMA and going into underground fight matches in order to grab the attention of the Bat to become like one of his disciples or sidekicks or whatever.
But we can't have that because that would imply something good about toxic masculinity, and we can't have that now, can we?
Yeah, they made him a corrupt. Can I say this?
Of course you can.
Right. They made him a Gordon good brother.
Yeah. They did. Like they do that to a lot of black men. Like they make them safe for white people.
They did it to Blade recently, and it pissed me right the fuck off. Like they literally gave him the Bill Cosby feather. I'm like, fucking what, mate? So
white people feel safe around him, and they turn like they do that to black men a lot. Like shit pisses me the fuck off, man.
Like I do not feel unsafe around virtually anyone unless they are a straight up sociopath. Like
I grew up in, I've stated it many times, I've grown up in like what is essentially the suburban ghetto. You don't trust anyone around here unless they're like your family and you live with them. That was a big thing for us. So
But there's a difference between being trusting and being crippled with fear every 5 minutes, and that's the thing. I feel like people who do that kind of shit to minority characters actually expect like the middle class twats who are anxious about fucking everything. And this is the other thing. I actually have a pretty chronic issue with anxiety. Like there have been times where my heart almost exploded because my heart rate was so high.
Oh no.
And I still don't. I'm not afraid of people who are around me. Like even though I am by right someone who should reasonably be afraid of most people because I am very slight and very short. So like I don't understand how people who are more quote unquote normal than me are somehow afraid of competent minority characters. Like maybe it's because two of my best friends on the interwebs are um extremely competent black people, but I
Yeah.
don't I don't I don't feel fear of people that I see as competent. I feel fear of people who I consider to be scary, but that's, normal human caution. But I don't feel fear as a result of someone being too much of a minority, because that actually is fucking racist. If the word actually means anything, like to me, it's more racist to be like, we can't see you as edgy or scary because you need to be neutered and safe and sanctified and basically the reincarnation of Mr. Rogers for us to appreciate you. That actually is really fun because like competence and agency are the defining characteristics of personhood as far as I'm concerned. So you should be capable and a little bit edgy from time to time. Like if you can handle yourself in violent situations, that to me is a positive in most cases. Now, if you're a bloodthirsty motherfucker who actively seeks violence in circumstances, that's a whole nother thing. But if you're a person who can handle themselves, that's a sign of that's something to be respected, not something to be afraid of,
right,
unless you are a sheltered middle class incompetent puss, and that's just insulting to the rest of us. So own your shit, people. I guess is the long and the short of it.
hmm for one thing, like I said, like the rewrite thing I'm doing, the overarching story is the mystery of what happened to Batman. Because in my version, Bruce Wayne slash uh, has apparently died, and that's why Kate Kane comes back to Gotham to pay respects to her cousin and stuff. And it's basically the mystery of what happened to Bruce, what happened to the Bat. Uh,
That sounds like a much more interesting story than anything they actually managed in the show.
Oh, what could be if what could be cool about that? It's like each episode gives you like a tiny clue as to what could have happened or something.
Like an actual Batman oriented detective story, like the one thing that for some reason no one wants to give us.
right. I'd also, well, for one thing, I cut it to like 13 episodes for a season for a season, because I think that gives it a tighter storytelling, and also just focus better on writing for each episode.
I don't know why the fuck they gave Batwoman of all things. Like, I'm having a hard time not being petty in this case, but Constantine got 13 episodes and then was never renewed for anything. Batwoman gets 22 episodes and is almost guaranteed to get a season 2.
Because He's a white dude, and she's gay and a woman.
Well, but he's bi too, and a
You know, there's a
bastard.
double standard.
Not to mention her. Not to mention his like sidekick or confidant was a Hispanic woman, but I guess because something white dude.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and actually, like I said, I looked up because I do research for these things for things I'm not really well versed in when I do these type of writings. As you probably should, writers of Hollywood, fucking dumbasses.
Yeah.
For one thing, I found out that there was a part of her origin that they totally forgot or haven't added in, which involves her sister Beth. It took me a minute to remember her name.
Yeah, that's Alice.
Yeah. For one thing, her mother and sister didn't die in a car crash. They were killed by a terrorist group known as the Religion of Crime, which is like the main antagonistic force.
That's a really badass name.
Yeah, it's yeah. So I have that as like the antagonistic force for season 1. Yeah, so they were kidnapped when she was like a kid and saw her mother's throat be slit right in front of her. Sister dragged away, kind of figured she was dead. Years later, she obviously becomes Atlas, but save that for like a later season or something. What else did I?
The whole fucking name, the Religion of Crime.
Yep.
Reminds me a little bit of the of one of the like cults that Constantine fights, which is called the Resurrection Crusade. They basically are a fundamentalist Christian cult who wants to bring about the apocalypse and Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also added in the part where she was saved by Batman. Because, again, that's another fundamental part of her origin. I don't think you should cut that out.
But that would imply some kind of respect for a character beyond simply women, and Hollywood don't do that because meritocracy bad and all.
Do you have a penis, Dalton? Then you are to be shamed.
All right, Hollywood and all those self-righteous, man-hating fucktards, go fuck yourselves. No one likes you. No one cares about you. Go fuck off somewhere.
Yes, and hopefully Terminator Dark Fate bombs like a motherfucker, and Joker continues to kick.
Oh, it did. Oh, that it did. It bombed horribly.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but I want it to bomb worse. I want
it to do worse.
I honestly hope that it falls like 65% in its second weekend and ends up under Joker, and then Hollywood has to quietly with its tail between its legs go, Joker in its sixth weekend managed to beat Terminator Dark Fate in its second weekend. It's like, yeah, when you actually care about the movies you're making, suddenly they do well or something. Who would have guessed? Derp, derp.
Though I did take out because in her original origin, Kay Kane was kicked out of the military academy for being gay, and since it's kind of I don't really think it'd really work today.
Well, I mean, like in general, yeah, like they can't do that. They can't like discriminate against you or yell.
I know they can I know there are issues with like dating within the military.
Well, yeah, that's the thing though. It's more about no one is allowed to have relationships in the military because it'll compromise your judgment if you're faced with saving someone who you're not in a relationship with or the person you're in a relationship with. In a life or death situation, you're going to pick the person you're in the relationship with, and that's bad because it's not objective.
Yeah,
and you need to be objective under pressure.
Yeah, so I took that part out and basically had just replaced the idea with she got kicked out for one being a little. What did I write?
I love that Batwoman has scrambled his brain so much that even he has to check.
Like, what the fuck did I write?
Well, yeah, dude,
How did I think this?
Kate Kane as a character as a whole is probably fit like a page and a half for like her origin. All I wrote.
Surprising no one because you're the character obsessive.
Right. So Batman saved her. She was inspired by Batman, joined the military. Okay. One of the top students, but need more at practice and accuracy. Their stubborn nature, due to her stubborn nature and reckless attitude of throwing herself into danger before anyone else. She eventually got some of her squad mates injured. One even be confined to a wheelchair for some time. She was expelled.
Okay, so she basically pulls a Steve Rogers before the super soldier serum and jumps on every grenade that gets thrown in her way.
Yeah.
Ah. See, that's a much more likable character trait, because that implies some measure of self-sacrifice.
Well,
but women
also,
shouldn't self-sacrifice under feminism because that's internalized misogyny.
well,
But
yeah.
men
Also,
totally should self-sacrifice at all times.
And also, like I said, she was kidnapped by terrorists at age 8 and saw her mother killed by having her throat slit in front of her. Twin sister dragged off somewhere else. Since age 9, she's been taking antidepressants. I think she's like close to 30 in the show. So she's fucked up.
It's in the show. She dresses like she's 12 and acts like she's 15.
Actually, I saw this video. I didn't check it out, but like the title for it, I think a guy was suggesting if you imagine Batwoman as like a black comedy, it's infinitely it's like funnier.
It's a black comedy.
Yeah, it's funnier
but,
then.
But here's the thing: Death Note was a black comedy, and that actually managed to be funny. I don't think even as a black comedy, Batwoman is really that funny.
Like the problem with the show, I guess, is that a lot of it's just boring. Like, yeah, like I said, it's 2 parts boring and 1 part's cringe, because while there is cringy bits, that's overshadowed by how immensely uninteresting the show is. Like everything about that show is boring. Holy shit.
At least the new Watchmen is so bad that it's kind of the can't look away kind of fascinating. Like a car wreck in progress.
Dalton, I can smell racism. Smells like bleach.
Like, oh, okay, at least that line is so gonzo hilarious that it's memorable. It's kind of like the TV equivalent of the mustard and bigotry line from X-Men Red.
I remember that! This hot dog tastes like mustard and bigotry.
Though, Dawn, I'm not sure. I think you might hate me for that. I did change the antagonist. I told you who the antagonist was. It's an obscure Batman villain called Deacon Blackfire. I haven't done much research into him yet. I think he was in.
Deacon Blackfire. Like, that was a really good Batman villain. I think he was. He got into Batman's head. Like, he was a really terrifying villain.
Yeah, I'm gonna do more research on him because he's like the last character I'm writing for, because he's like the villain of the first season, and he's like leading the religion of crime in Gotham. So yeah, but I added 2 new characters that I think are really good, and I think I've told Dawn like this before. Detective Renee Montoya, and The Question. To kind of round out the cat.
Yeah, nice, good choice.
Yeah, Detective Renee Montoya is like leading the task force for the religion of crime to like stop them, and she's being kind of mentored by The Question, who, in kind of my Arrowverse headcanon, is been around the block a few times in terms of vigilante. So he's kind of like that cop. I'm too old for this shit, but I'm still doing it.
So in other words, he is very close to becoming an answered question.
I like that, Dalton. I like that.
I don't get it.
I like that.
Because if you leave a question alone long enough, it becomes an answered question. And the
Break it down more, Dalton.
Yeah,
No,
I still
I
don't.
mean, seriously, like you need to elaborate on what you're saying.
Yeah,
okay, right.
it's just
The joke was that an aging question is very close to becoming answered, because how do you terminate a question? You answer it.
okay.
The brainstormers.
I don't. Sometimes I didn't grow up with funny people.
All right. So,
I get it now. Don't explain. I get it now. It's just
You weren't raised under crime and punishment.
stop.
sometimes I regret that we're friends, Dalton. Sometimes
Get out of here, Dalton. Just get out of here.
but yeah. So I have those characters. So yeah, Kate Kane, Batwoman, Jacob Kane, Lucas Fox, Renee Montoya, Question, and Deacon Blackfire are like the main cast of characters. Plus, I would love to see a live action Question, like how they would do it, like mask and stuff.
They did a really good fan film of the Question, where he crossed over with Dr. Fate. It was called A Question of Fate. This was like, God, it must have been like 10 years ago.
I think I know what. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
I thought they did a really good job of his mask and his makeup. They did it on the cheap, but it was really convincing, I thought.
Yeah, there are actually a lot of cool Question fan films on YouTube that really do the costuming and stuff good. But yeah, overall, that's going to be something that comes out within the month. My rewrite of the CW's Batwoman. Also, my Captain Marvel rewrite, hopefully, and December will be me releasing my rewrite of Avengers Endgame.
You need to find something good and worthwhile to talk about at some point in the midst of this, because exposure to Batwoman and then Captain Marvel and then Endgame is going to make you go mad.
Yeah, you need to.
Well, they're rewrites, which implies I didn't like how they were originally.
Well, no, I know, but there's only so much exposure to the abyss that any human mind should be expected to deal with. And you know what happens when you look too long into the abyss.
You go mad, or you blink.
When you stare into the abyss stares back, homie.
Well, if it makes me any better, I take breaks
given
to
that
go
the
to
abyss
work.
in this case is Batwoman and Captain Marvel, that would imply you like dyeing your hair bright rainbow and becoming an SJW just out of proxy.
Well, to be fair, I have fun rewriting. I have fun rewriting this stuff. It's not really me looking into the abyss.
I must become them to understand.
Well, I mean, that's what we have you around for, right, Corrupt?
Hey.
You were at one point an SJW.
Yeah, I was an SJW. All my friends were massive SJWs. One of my best friends unironically said quad gendered to describe a person.
What the fuck?
Qua?
Quad gendered.
Hi.
I would always ask the same question with like people who say they're gender fluid and stuff. What bathroom do you use?
Both. What if your gender changes midstream when you're taking a piss? What do you do then?
Good question.
You file for harassment if you're in the wrong bathroom when your stream is done, and then
I'm quite fond of you, Dalton. That was
you get all the victimhood points. Nom nom nom.
Right. But yeah, plot line wise, for my rewrite, and I'm probably gonna do like a small list, like when I did when I rewrote Titans season 1. Go check that out on my official channel, Brainstormer of Pop Culture. And I can plug here because one, this is also my channel, and I'm the host.
this is true. It's
Shit away, man. Shit away.
Yeah, but I actually looked up. It took me a while to look up obscure villains for Batwoman because I know you can't use like the main course of Batman rogues, which is unfortunate because I think there would be some Batman rogues like mainstay that would work well with Batwoman. But
although they'd want to pair her up with all the female villainesses like Poison Ivy and Harley. I could see them like making a version where Harley Quinn was her main antagonist instead of the Joker.
1 second. Actually, I thought Alice was Harley Quinn when I first saw the trailer.
That's amazing. Oh.
She would have been a better Harley Quinn than Margot Robbie. I'll give her that. Oh, that's not a hard bar to clear. Because Margot Robbie often forgets to do the fucking accent. And it honestly goes under the you only had one job category. Like if you're not gonna actually wear the Harlequin outfit, you at least need to do the thick like Boston accent, please. Because otherwise you're just cheerleader gone insane. That's Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. She is Regina George from Mean Girls after about 10 years of torture and going insane.
That is a pretty bright story. Thank you, Dalton.
I'm sorry. Did I remind everyone that Mean Girls existed?
It had a really dark twist.
Like, okay,
Christ.
this is sort of how I picture it. You remember the scene in Kick-Ass? Was it Kick-Ass? I think it was Kick-Ass 2.
Yeah.
Where Hit Girl like walks up to the Mean Girl in the cafeteria and uses the like crowd control device on her. Imagine that was Regina George for Mean Girls, and then she decided to become a super villainess.
Okay,
Like,
I didn't see all of like Kick-Ass 2. So what do you mean by like crowd control? Like what does she do?
okay,
Yeah.
she had this one crowd control device that emits a sound that makes people involuntarily vomit and have explosive diarrhea. And she just uses it on this one bitchy mean girl type because she's pissed off with her.
Jesus.
Yeah, don't fuck with Hit Girl apparently.
Oh yeah, the 6 stick scene. Yeah, it causes you to vomit and shit yourself, I think.
Yep. Apparently it was rejected by the police for being too severe, and that's how it became experimental technology that her dad picked up.
Mm. Right. So what was it? Yeah, there was this one character, and again, I told Dalton this before you popped in before the stream. Correct. This serial killer called the Mirror, who kills people in ways that reflect their past. And I thought that'd be an interesting character to go up against Kate Kane in like the second season with like her choice to be reckless and stuff that caused her. It got some of her team injured during her days of the academy. Apparently, it was like a Batgirl villain or something. So, and it is super quiet now. And
Oh, because I'm muted. Because you guys can hear the fan.
No.
No.
Oh, well, you said there was an echo.
echo.
You said there was like he was echoing, and that's from my fan, I think.
Huh. Okay. But yeah, I think we're kind of done talking about Batwoman. We can move on to another thing that will probably depress us.
Movie Bob trying to figure out the Joker.
Oh no!
Apparently, he didn't get it.
He didn't get the Joker.
He's so convinced that the Joker wasn't about anything that he made a video called "Is the Joker actually about anything?"
The Joker is literally about wealth inequality and a guy with a mental illness.
Actually, there was, well, the song I played earlier was the music used for the bathroom scene in Joker. If anyone knew or could guess.
I actually kind of have my own sort of 2 cents on Joker, but we'll get there when we're calling out Movie Bob for being a dipshit.
Actually, I used the bathroom scene music to rewrite Batwoman. Like it just had this like melancholy to it that I think works for my brain.
To be fair, like 90% of all the DC movies could be improved if they were just a little bit more like Joker. Joker's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like it's good music from that movie. It really is.
Yeah, if that movie doesn't win at least one Oscar, I'm gonna be very, very pissed. Like Joaquin at the very least deserves an Oscar, but a lot of other people who work in that movie also deserve Oscars.
Yeah, so we're watching Is Joker Actually About Anything by Movie Bob of The Escapist. Now to be clear, we are not attacking him. We are simply doing this for entertainment's sake and for argument's sake. Again, we are not attacking anyone. We will simply provide counter arguments when or if needed.
Can I attack someone?
You're corrupt. You really don't do anything that we ask, so sure.
Well, aren't you worried about like ruining your makeup or something, given that you apparently like spend lots of money on lotions and things?
I do. I really do. I bought.
I would imagine your reaction to like getting cuts or bruised is just abject despair.
Right. Okay. So let me. Okay.
I'm sorry. That was a little bit mean. Sorry.
No, that was perfect. Good job, Dalton.
Yeah. I can't really ask. I mean, you do what you want, corrupt. There's no way we can really control you. So I just say let him loose.
I'm just saying either you getting hurt would piss you off or it would piss me off. So
Aww.
not exactly a good opinion, because like either they will piss you off by making you less pretty, or they will piss me off by actually doing any meaningful harm to you, and then I will kill the motherfucker, because that's just how that works. Like you come after people I care about, and I will straight up kill a motherfucker. That's just how that works.
Aww.
I think we already have that on record for like 7 different times he said that.
Well, it's because I'm serious. Like if somebody does something wrong to one of my friends, like they are going to go insane from all of the terrible torturous shit I will do to them.
I mean, obviously, we're going to say things that people aren't going to like, but we don't really care because we're doing it anyway. So
let's
get into the stupid of Movie Bob so that I can be a little bit less dark by calling out stupid.
Mm-hmm. The following episode includes major spoilers for Joker. View at your own risk.
So, for those of you who are feeling possibly confused as to exactly how this month's 2-a-week show schedule works, on Tuesdays, regular episodes of The Big Picture. On Thursdays, special Halloween-themed episodes for Schlocktober. Why are we...
For Schlocktober!
Points for Movie Bob, because I've seen his Schlocktober stuff, and it's some of his best material. So, it's like the one time where he puts down the snark and actually is a movie geek for 5 seconds. So he gets a pass for mocking his Schlocktober.
Yeah, I got nothing to say. It's just him saying stuff. Banana.
Banana.
I'm sorry. I mean Taco Bell here. Give me a sec.
Quesadilla,
Dorito tacos.
Dorito tacos,
Yeah, nacho cheese, my favorite.
Dorito tacos, nacho cheese. 5 seconds.
I am not going to question your dietary decisions, and we're just going to move on. Banana.
Wait, do you have something to say about his dietary decisions?
Well, because Taco Bell is like an instant diuretic.
Oh, he's right. You're right, though. That's awful. Yeah, you're right.
You know what's worse?
What's that?
Or tacos.
Your stomach is going to explode, right? Right into the toilet. Just Jesus Christ.
Either you were going to die of explosive diarrhea, or you were going to die of some like weird dyspepsia thing from trying to hold it in too much.
I do not envy your toilet. That's all I have to say.
Honestly, it's more my other my uncle who fucks up the toilet.
Okay, that image I didn't need, and we're gonna move on now.
Oh, okay.
We talking about Joker again already? Because I didn't really want to, but I also kind of do. Anyway, Thursday show is nuts, so stay tuned for that too. Anyway. So Joker made a bunch of
Banana.
money at the box office over the weekend, which is being treated as a surprise for purposes of further marketing, as though the idea that a movie about probably the second most popular character and one of the most popular franchises in the most popular movie genre on the planet for like the last decade of human history, pulling a big number opening uncontested in early fall, is some kind of miraculous, unexpected victory for the film and its fans against the overwhelming adversary.
Okay, given that it's on a $55 million budget, that the studio itself didn't even believe in it, that it's a spin on the genre that most people even question if it's part of the genre, which is stupid, but that's a whole nother rant. And given that literally every critic motherfucker on the planet appears to have a personal vendetta against Joker, yes, it is surprising that Joker did as well as it did. But not really when you consider how out of touch the critic set is. I wonder if we're going to get about 5-minute dissertation on why everyone is so out of touch without actually realizing he's doing that.
You know what? I'm surprised you guys didn't try to make any jokes about me being a Latino eating tacos.
I just assumed that was something everyone already kind of like.
It's
too easy.
Too much of an obvious joke.
Yeah, it's like me and fried chicken. I'm black. I'm eating fried chicken. I mean,
fried chicken is amazing. So anyone eating fried chicken is not really that surprising. I guess if I was to drink like strawberry daiquiris or something, that would warrant some lispy gay jokes.
You are kind of gay. Then again, so am I. So,
and now I actually convinced myself to start craving strawberry daiquiris. God damn it!
I've never drank before.
Really, I should. What I should do is I should go get my my honey jack that I've had in my freezer since my birthday, because it hasn't been opened yet, and I've been waiting for a good excuse to drink it, but I'm not going to, because I prefer to be sober when responding to idiocy. It makes it easier.
You keep alcohol in the freezer?
Yes, so that when I want it, it's nice and cold.
Why not the fridge?
Because it doesn't get quite cold enough. Because alcohol naturally avoids being frozen. It has a much lower freezing temperature than normal like water type liquids do.
Interesting.
It's one of the reasons some of the earliest antifreeze was alcohol based.
Now I've moved on to my second taco, and we can move on. Banana. Or in this
Banana.
case, taco.
No. Banana.
Dorito nacho taco. What were you eating again?
Taco Bell's Dorito Nacho Tacos with just meat and cheese.
That's the 5-second thing we should do.
Is it the ranch flavored one or is it the nacho flavored one?
Nacho cheese one.
So it's not even the good Doritos. All right.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
I'm sorry, the ranch ones taste better. What do you want from it?
Go fuck yourself. How about that?
Never.
I am sorry. That was a little uncalled for. I'm sorry.
That was entertaining as hell. Like, never be sorry for that. That was entertaining.
It was hilarious. So
That was entertaining as hell.
But yes, I am totally on Team Blue Dorito. So there.
That's the second thing we have that would probably make us enemies.
But then again, I don't even like tacos, so I don't know why I'm even discussing this.
Okay, make that a third thing.
Quesadillas are superior anyway, and soft burritos are better. So he's just basically speaking truth.
All right. Nacho cheese tacos.
And bananas, and apparently my absence of tacos once again.
Yeah, that sounds really disgusting.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Of marginally divided reviews from professional critics and some scattering overhyping of random concern trolling in the national media.
Okay, Bob, you are really underrepresenting the reaction of most critics. Yes, the
some concern trolling. Okay, only some.
Like, okay, Bob. This went from this is a bad movie because derp politics all the way to this is probably going to cause a mass shooting. Oh please, cause a mass shooting so we can report on it. That is how bad the moralizing got with the Joker. Like that was how bad the moralizing got with the Joker. And of those people who didn't like the Joker, they shat on it. Like, there's a difference between this is vaguely not good and this movie is morally, philosophically, and politically objectionable in every way and doesn't deserve to exist, which was the long and the short of like 90% of the negative reviews. Only like 10% of the negative reviews actually were about the merit of the movie, and most of those people were just people who don't like comic book movie genre in general, and can be reliably expected to not give comic book movies a good review. And of the people who actually liked the damn thing, most of them were overly positive in a way you don't often see in positive reviews. So to call this just vaguely divisive is a bit of an understatement, given that you yourself gave it like a 4 out of 10 and dumped on it in effigy in your review on Rotten Tomatoes. So there. You are really underselling this, sir. For the record, I'm not pulling that up. I don't want to because I'm lazy and kind of tired, and I also have work tomorrow. And if we do, and Rotten Tomatoes is cancer. That's really the only justification you need. Rotten Tomatoes is cancer. Yeah, that too. All right, nacho cheese tacos.
Which you may recall turned bizarrely political when director Todd Phillips, previously best known for Road Trip, the Hangover trilogy, and the feature adaptation of Starsky and Hutch, stated that his making the film was inspired by traditional comedy having been killed by quote-unquote woke culture and laid up in...
Wait, pause this for a second. turn political. They made it political. All the fucking press made it political. They called it an incel movie before it was even out.
Bob, every critic who has dumped on this movie in effigy dumped on it in effigy largely because it didn't feature the correct political and moral woo. And only now, when Todd Phillips actually offers an opinion on said moral woo, does it become bizarrely political. This goes to something I've noticed with a lot of
He's
a lot of
so
these
insincere.
people.
Oh my god, I
Well,
hate.
okay, this is one of those cases where I don't think it's insincerity. I think it's just a sincere lack of self-awareness.
No,
Because
I'll be honest with you, because to say that it became political after Todd Phillips made that comment ignores the months of this movie is for incels and going to get you shot.
I think I have a reasonable explanation for that doesn't really make sense, but will at least fill the logic void. Because these people consider themselves so correct morally and philosophically and politically and shit that they've ceased to even acknowledge that their political opinions are political. To them, their political opinions are such the basic truth that they're not even political.
I think you give them too little credit to say, like, they're the same people who say everything is political. If they believe that everything is political, then they would believe their opinions are also political.
Right, but they don't follow through on that because of the cognitive dissonance. They don't apply their own standards to themselves. That's the thing.
Maybe so, but that still is insincere on Bob's part, because he also agrees with this everything is political shit. Like, they know, he's aware that the media did. That's why he said concern trolling and not the incel terrorist bullshit that they've been claiming for
he's underestimating basically his own.
I don't think he's underestimating. I think he's deliberately being insincere.
I think it's just garden variety dipshit ignorance.
I don't think you can say it's garden variety ignorance when you have months of this movie is for violent incels who are going to shoot up everything. An interview in which was Joaquin Phoenix was asked,
don't you think it's irresponsible to make a movie
exactly
like this?
And these people also believe everything is political. Their personal statements are political. I don't believe you can say that this is anything but insincerity on Bob's part. I don't think you can say it's ignorance, because Bob lives on Twitter. He knows exactly what people are. He knows the incel. This movie is for incel fucking line. He just played it down as concern trolling, which was insincere to do as well, because it was more than just concern trolling. When you tell people that this movie is going to cause violence, is going to cause some incel to commit a killing spree.
Well, again, the reason why I think it's at least defensible to leave open the possibility that it might just be garden variety ignorance is because, again, these people are so convinced of their own accuracy, of their own truth, that they actually don't see their philosophizing as political, even though by their own logic they should.
But I don't think there's I don't think you can make that disconnect when they believe that their own philosophies are political. They've said that their own statements are political. They believe everything is a political statement. If they believe everything is a political statement, then logic would dictate that they also believe their statements are political. That's why on this account, it's insincere. Bob is being insincere. He was being insincere when he called when he called it concern trolling, when he knows goddamn well the media was basically saying this movie was going to provoke incels to start shooting up people. He's being insincere because, like always, Bob is an insincere piece of shit who doesn't like the opposition. So he's going and has friends, and a lot of his friends peddle this bullshit. So he's going to call it concern trolling.
It's also completely philosophically untenable, because to call it concern trolling implies that it has some inherent moral validity. To call it concern trolling basically means, well, you meant well, but you went too far. That's the implication by that is arrived at by calling it concern trolling. Concern trolling basically essentially means, well, you meant well, but you went a little bit overboard, or you went a little bit too far. And to say that is extremely biased and extremely once again not holding yourself to your own standards. Which I think is more the case than conscious insincerity. You can make the case for unconscious insincerity, and by rights there is oodles and oodles of that. But I don't. This is the difference. I don't think they realize they do it. I think they just selectively forget their own standards when it's inconvenient to them, because there's no way they can do it.
I don't think you can say that. I mean, out of all of these many people, that they never have had a moment of insincerity. Of course, that like people are going to be insincere at times, not all the time, but at times they're going to be insincere. Like there are points when they're going to be insincere. This is one of those points. I don't think you can say that they're unaware of their own insincerity. The movie, he's calling it concern trolling. He's playing down basically people saying that this movie is going to inspire people to commit mass murder, and calling it concern trolling. There's more to it than that. And when people say concern trolling, a lot of it is sarcasm. Like I don't think you can I don't think you can say it's anything but insincerity.
Mm-hmm.
Given the fact that we have the incel comment, you know what type of person Bob is. Bob is, what is he referred to as, eugenics Bob, because he agrees with eugenics and thinks anyone who isn't like him should be wiped out.
As long as it's intellectual eugenics and not physical or like.
Like Bob is a bad fucking person. Like to say he isn't capable of. That's why I firmly believe he is being very insincere. Not just because of the instances that I've brought up, but because in general he's just a bad person. So
I just think it's better in most cases to apply a bit of a higher standard to conscious insincerity, because of the good old Hanlon's razor thing of never attribute to malice what can adequately be expressed through incompetence.
But you can do that, but when a person says people who are basically said this movie is going to inspire violent incels. When a person just plays it off as concern trolling and downplays it that much, I think you have to at the very least consider that he's being insincere.
And yeah, I can consider that, but as far as I'm concerned, what I can see is just colossal double standards and colossal ignorance.
I mean, like it's more than there may be ignorance, but it's more than ignorance when he says that Todd Phillips made it political. That's what he said. That Todd Phillips was who made it political.
Yeah, and I think that's at least somewhat explicable by the observation that they don't view themselves. They do view themselves
as political. They do view themselves as political, though. That's the thing. They've said that everything is political. When someone says everything is political, when someone says the personal is political, everything is political, then of course they believe themselves to be political. They believe their own statements and words to be political. That should go.
But
That goes.
I don't think they apply that consistently. Is what I'm saying.
They may not. They may not apply that consistently, but they may not apply that consistently. I don't know if they do or don't. But to say that, but when you make that statement, I would take that. I think you have to take that.
You're more. I'm gonna hold your feet to your own fire, kind of thing.
Like I'm basically going to hold them by the standard they put forth. Everything is political. If everything is political, this would imply that this is political as well.
I just, as a general principle, avoid putting moral spins on things, because I think that's a dangerous genie. I
don't think it's a moral spin to say that he's being insincere when he downplayed talk of mass shootings as just being concern trolling, and when he said that it was Todd Phillips who made the conversation political.
What I'm saying is I would rather, for the sake of the argument, just chalk it up to him being a massive idiot rather than him being like duplicitous or immoral.
I don't think. Go ahead.
Or at the very least that he doesn't consciously realize he's doing it, and that he has his own rationalizations for doing it. But I'm more interested in addressing those rationalizations than I am putting moral weight on him, I guess.
You can address his rationalizations, but I don't see how that would stop you from acknowledging that he's being insincere. I don't see how addressing his argument is stopping you from acknowledging that he's being insincere.
Because I don't see enough. I don't see enough of that insincerity to make it relevant, I guess. Like to me, to bring a moral dimension into this kind of shit, there's a higher burden there's a higher sort of burden that has to be met in the first place.
What is a high enough burden? What is a high enough burden for you then?
That's a good question. I'd have to actually see a example of it, and then I could better put it into words. I see things more in terms of, is this person being an idiot, more so than is this person being immoral? Because I don't really care if the person's being immoral if there's more content to be mined from this person is just being a fucking moron. I'm more preoccupied with this person is being a internally inconsistent idiot rather than this person is being duplicitous, because I don't really necessarily care about the moral dimension unless it is directly made relevant, and I don't think it's relevant here. I think you know, you're here to offer sort of the counter example to that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm sticking to my standard sort of modus operandi, because I know you're going to take the he's being insincere or he's being duplicitous route. So I don't necessarily have to. I can just look at this and say he's being a fucking idiot, and I'm more preoccupied with him being a fucking idiot than I am him being immoral.
I mean, I think you can be both, but I think you can be both, and I think you can call out. I think you can call out either. Like, I'm not concerned with someone's morality as much as I'm concerned with the crux of the argument. And if your argument is this person, and if your argument is this person made it moral. I'm sorry, this person made it a political issue, when I can very well when his faction very well made it a political issue from the beginning with talk of incel shoot ups and they're courting the alt right and all of this other shit. Then when he says Todd Phillips made it moral, made it a political issue. Yeah, I think you can call him out on that. They're the ones who said that Joker is courting the alt right.
Yeah, I'd rather chalk that up to again what I've noticed in this circle is when they do it, it's not political, but the second someone else brings another political aspect in, that's being political because they don't consider their own shit political. They just consider it the unvarnished truth.
I mean, that's fine. Like, I don't have an issue. I don't have a personal issue with that. But I don't have a personal issue with that. I just don't think you should discount them being insincere, nor do I think there's an issue with both things being true. Someone can be insincere and an idiot. Someone can have a double standard and a rationalization while not being wholly honest with the person they're arguing with or talking to, or when they're
and the main reason why I avoid that is because I think on a instinctual and emotional level it can be much more satisfying to go, you're being immoral or you're being insincere, rather than, and I avoid bringing the moral dimension into things unless there's I guess I just, because bringing the moral dimension in is such a instinctual and easy thing to do, I put
so I'm going to
limit on myself
right there. I don't think that's not what's happening with me, and I don't think that's always the case. For some people, it may be the case. For me, it is not the case. It is me simply stating things as I see.
No, and I sorry, I didn't mean to imply that that's what you were doing. I'm just saying that's why I don't.
All right.
That's why I don't. I try not to entertain this person is just a bad person, this person is just immoral thing, especially because the main, or one of the main issues I have with SJWs is they put a moral skin on fucking everything. And I would rather we have a logic-based discussion more so than a moral-based discussion whenever possible. I guess is my main.
So the disconnect here is that you're assuming that someone lying makes it a moral argument. That's not necessarily the case, I would argue. Someone lying is also not just a moral. It doesn't have to have a moral component. It's simply just simple logic as well. Like, when someone is duplicitous, when someone is being duplicitous and you call that out, you don't have to be doing it for moral reasons. You can be doing it because you think the person is being disingenuous in the argument they're making. And that's exactly what I feel is happening. There is no moral component for me here. Bob is being disingenuous with the events and twisting them to suit his narrative. And that's exactly what it looks like to me.
And again, my main thing is I'd like to leave open the possibility that he's unaware that he's doing that, and that there's no intent or malice behind that. It's just him trying to let himself off, because he honestly, I think he's afraid of presenting things as they actually are, because if he presented things as they actually are, he would have to deal with the, oh shit, I'm on the wrong side of the issue, and he can't.
Well, that in and of itself would prove some degree of insincerity if you're aware that of what you're doing. That in of itself is some sort of insincerity. Like, that's some sort of duplicity in and of itself. Is that you're aware of what you're doing.
Right, but that's the thing. I don't think he is, at least not consciously aware. You can make the argument that he's like intuitively aware or subconsciously aware, but I'd rather just chalk it up to you're being a massive idiot and move on.
I mean, I don't see why you can't do both. To be completely honest with you, that's where I stand on it. I believe he's an idiot, and
because doing both, at least for me, muddies the water more than I would like.
For me, it doesn't. So, like, for me, it doesn't. I'm just saying things as I see them. As I see them, he's being intentionally duplicitous. So I'm calling it. So I'm calling it out.
Yeah, and as I see it, he's just unaware that he's being a massive hypocrite, and he's not applying his own conscious rationalizations to his own standards. He's letting himself off.
I don't think you can afford someone that kindness when rather he said that when knowing that the media has been referring to the movie as an alt-right movie for months and saying that it's courting the alt-right, it's for the right wing, etc., etc.
Yeah.
When he says that Todd Phillips made it political, which he didn't, honestly. To a degree, you can. Todd Phillips was the one who made
he just played the ball where it lied. Honestly, is
like so.
The best way of putting it.
I think that's the main. I think that's the main focus with me. Why I'm saying that he's being insincere, because he's aware of all of the alt-right bullshit. He's aware of that, but they're his friends who said that, right? So that's why he downplayed it. Also,
yeah, that's why his brain is not putting two and two together, right?
Also, I don't think so. I mean, he's not a drooling moron. Like, he has a brain, clearly, he's not unaware of what he's doing.
It's the special pleading of my friends did a thing that means it's by default not as bad as when other people do similar things.
I don't even from a tribalistic standpoint, you still can't I don't think you can rationalize him saying Todd Phillips made it a political issue given the months of incel alt-right bullshit. I don't see how you can rationalize that as anything but insincerity. Even if there's ignorance and stupidity mixed in, there is still some degree of insincerity.
Guys.
Yeah, we got off on such a tangent there. I think it's best just to leave each other's styles where they lie and move on, because we have a whole video of this to get through, and if we
you spent like I don't know 15 minutes
20 minutes on this.
Yeah. Let me see.
Yeah. Okay. So let's banana and deal with his continued collapse of a human being.
Far left. So there's a certain irony in one of his film's most passionate defenders turning out to be left-wing activist and documentarian provocateur Michael Moore, of all people, who took to Instagram after a screening of the film at the New York Film Festival to declare that he had witnessed a cinematic masterpiece, and that contrary to the supposed societal dangers posed by the film, the greater danger to society may be if you don't go to see this movie, because the story it tells and the issues it raises are so profound, so necessary, that if you look away from the genius of this work of art, you will miss the gift of the mirror it is offering us.
Okay, Bob, fuck you for making me side with Michael Moore on anything. Because Michael Moore is, under most normal circumstances, a intellectually dishonest hack. But in this instance, Michael Moore outranks you in terms of being logically consistent and also intellectually honest, because he was able to put his own bullshit aside for 5 minutes and actually objectively look at what the movie was trying to tell him, rather than project onto the movie what he wanted to be told. So there. You've made me defend Michael Moore, and now it's pissed me off. Fuck off.
Dropped anything to add, or?
No, I'm all right now. No, I don't have anything to add to that, honestly.
Okay. 1 second. I was writing something.
Banana.
Okay.
Banana.
Nacho cheese tacos.
Helga Pataki.
Actually, I finished those like 20 minutes ago.
Oh god, Hey Arnold was so awesome. Our childhoods were so much better than the
Pretty
childhoods
much.
of people now.
Seriously.
I think I shouldn't have drank that root beer after I ate the tacos.
You probably shouldn't have eaten the tacos in the first place, dude, if we're being entirely honest.
They were good. I
Because
died because I did
Taco Bell is cancer for the digestive system. Hopefully not literally.
Yeah, I was about to say, so technically it's just like stomach cancer or something. Oh, by the way, folks, go watch Team America. Funny ass movie.
Marika, fuck yeah. And so on.
Subsequent post, Moore would further elaborate. Joker makes it clear we don't really want to get to the bottom of this, or to try to understand why innocent people turn into jokers after they can no longer keep it together. No one wants to ask why two smart boys skipped their 4th-hour AP French philosophy class at Columbine High to slaughter 12 students and a teacher. No one would dare ask why the son.
What?
Okay, Bob.
He was being funny. He was trying to be funny.
He was trying to frame it as though Michael Moore had said something stupid, as opposed to basically everything that Bob is trying his damnedest not to do right now. And Bob, once again, you are making Michael Moore look like the sensible, level-headed one in the scenario. Why are you doing this to me, Bob? Why? You've made Michael Moore look sensible, and I'm pissed off at you for it. Because Michael Moore is not sensible. He is a hack, but he's more sensible than you right now.
Is that all? Or?
He was actually able to look at obvious logic and not fucking turn a emotionally reactionary blind eye to it because reasons. Okay. Banana.
1 second. Okay. Yeah, no.
Yeah, Mike, I'm going to cut you off right there because, yeah, we actually do know why the two kids at Columbine did it. Because they made videos and wrote it down in journals beforehand.
Yes, and you don't take anything written in those journals as the truth, do you? Even though your approach to literally fucking everything else is fucking standpoint theory bullshit where someone's perspective is quote-unquote their truth. But because they do something you find to be morally and philosophically objectionable, you have to come up with every other kind of rationalization you can rather than just listen to people. And that, Bob, is the crux of why Michael Moore is more sensible than you in this particular circumstance. Because he actually was able to look at it and go, wait, why do I feel the need to project socio-political woo onto people rather than actually consider what they say and why they say it?
Bob is fucking retarded.
Yeah, again, this is why I find it more useful sometimes to just think this person is being a massive idiot.
Okay, wait, shit. The reason, so like I said before, I feel like you can do both. So he is fucking retarded, but he is also like he is fucking retarded, but I also think he's disingenuous. So
no, I know you can do both, but I personally, because I know my own psychology well enough, avoid bringing the moral dimension into things unless I absolutely have to, because once I let out this person is immoral, jack out of its box, I think that corrupts my own personal reasoning faculties.
Like,
so my thing is essentially kind of a prioritization of the information. It's or a prioritization of the errors that are taking place. Is this person being an idiot takes priority in my own personal hierarchy over is this person being disingenuous? And to what degree can the former explain the latter rather than rather than having it go the other way. Is sort of my approach. I'm not saying that other approaches are not as good. I'm just saying that for my own sort of peace of mind, I avoid the moral dimension where possible.
Well, I guess the disconnect, at least for I guess the disconnect in this conversation is that, like, I don't always think there's necessarily a moral component to an argument to an assertion that someone is being disingenuous. Sometimes there is no moral I mean, in an abstract sense, I guess there is, because lying is bad. But I don't think about it from a moral perspective. If I think someone's being disingenuous for the sake of an argument or something, I just say you're being disingenuous.
Well, it's sort of like
Guys,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know, I get it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, moving on, because this is one of those things we'll story about for 20 minutes again.
all movie bot. I think the way I can kind of bridge it is he has no true merit in this argument based on the record that he hasn't even gotten to the actual movie, and if it's about
Yeah,
anything.
no, this is his attempt to go la la la, I can't hear you, to Michael Moore actually being self-aware enough to make an honest point for once.
Okay.
And again,
but movie bot is also being disingenuous by providing information and not providing accurate information to support his flimsy strawman arguments.
well,
Yeah.
because
That's-
he's not
that's-
because
that's
he's not
what I
making this argument with his reasoning faculties. He's
But
making this
but Dalton, if someone is being purposefully dishonest with information, if someone is purposefully not giving you full context, that's dishonesty, bro.
I guess so, but the point I was gonna make is the reason why his argument is so ridiculously flimsy is because he's not actually making it with his cognition. He's not making it with his conscious reasoning faculties. He's making it with his I don't want to see the thing that's right in front of my face, emotionally reactionary subconscious. And that is why he's being such a disingenuous dipshit right now, because he's looking for any excuse not to look at the very obvious thing that has been placed in front of him on a silver platter for any number of emotionally hypocritical reasons.
Right. So basically, I'm just more pissed off that he hasn't gotten to the actual point yet.
Yes,
and he's
please
gonna
do
basically
make
waste
a
like
point.
10 minutes, which of this 11-minute video, he's gonna waste 10 minutes. That's what he's gonna do.
He always waffles and does like side tangents for much the same reason as we do sidebars. So, like, to basically fill the void of his extremely dry approaches to things with his attempts at humor and his attempts at being a human being, which you fail at, Bob, because you're being an extremely emotionally reactionary moron for reasons that we'll get into in a minute. Banana.
I know. Oh, okay. It's weird.
Apparently, the internet does not want us to ban.
No, it's not. It's not the internet. He had it paused on this script about Eric Harris, influences on the ideology of Eric Harris from the doctor.
It's to bolster his point about Columbine and how they actually said why they did it. But that doesn't mean anything, Bob, if you don't actually listen to them and offer them some intellectual legitimacy when they explain why they did it. If you're just going to say, the reasons why you think you did the thing aren't actually the reasons you did the thing, that is you being a disingenuous fuck. It's one of the reasons I really fucking hate anthropology, because there's only so much you can learn about an ideology or a culture from the clinical distance of anthropology. If you will look at every justification for why they do something other than the actual beliefs they hold, that's going to fuck up your analysis. It's why I avoid a lot of different kinds of anthropology, because I think the clinical distance they try to give themselves honestly fucks up their analysis, because they can't get into this is actual shit that happens. If they can't see their subjects as intellectually capable and legitimate, they can't actually make objective assessments of that subject's opinions. But that's a whole other side tangent of why I dislike anthropology. Different tangent for a different day, I think.
Right.
Banana.
Okay. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I just did a quick read of the X script.
Mm-hmm.
Mention violent video games and heavy metal music, and subsequently also ignored by Michael Moore in his film. Oh, okay. Never mind. It's kind of like him.
Okay, Bob. Once again, you're gonna make me defend Michael Moore, who is, under normal circumstances, not someone I am interested in defending. Probably the reason why Michael Moore didn't. I haven't seen his Columbine documentary, so I don't. I'm willing to admit I don't know. But probably the reason why he didn't bring up video games and heavy metal music is because Michael Moore at least possesses the self-awareness to understand that movies and video games and the music people listen to don't, at least exclusively or in any way substantively, lead to them doing terrible things. Because everyone, to a certain extent, listens to some kind of music or watches some kind of movie that other people would find objectionable for any number of abstract philosophical reasons.
I'll be back.
All right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the argument from earlier. I
No problem.
might have spurred a little bit too much, but
No problem. No, sorry if I got kind of aggressive. My bad, bro.
no, I know you get very invested in your opinions. So when people challenge them,
Right. I mean, we all get invested in our opinions, you know.
yeah, and yeah, I'm sorry if I made you feel like I was trying to like. I wasn't saying anything. I wasn't
No,
saying anything bad about you.
no, it's your opinion.
I prefer to give people a certain benefit of the doubt, because honestly, it's the thing of, I don't care about your motives. I care about what you're actually like saying. Like,
That's fine. It's like that's fine. Like I said, I have no problem with you expressing your opinion. You know,
yeah,
I just it's just this is just a point of disagreement for us. That's basically it.
Yep. It's just two different ways of looking at things, and two different ways. Essentially, it's the way we process. I think that's the difference mainly.
Banana.
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 But anyway, the fact that I was overwhelmingly certain that Joker was not, in fact, about the things Michael Moore was ascribing to it in any meaningful way, those of you who've seen my review of the film, of course, know that I was not a fan, for me only served to highlight one of its most curious qualities, that it's a film comprised almost entirely of surface-level texture, aesthetics, visual cues, needle-drop soundtrack, auditory mood notes, allusions to contemporary social topics and politics, but with all of them decoupled from any inherent meaning that they typically possess, and none of it unified by any cohesive theme.
Okay, Bob, because they weren't. Okay, this is one of the main issues I had with this. Because, Bob, it's not the job of stories to create narratives for their themes. It is their job to be as objective as possible, and for the inherent meanings of the things it's being objective about to carry through as a result. This is the thing. You essentially want a definitive one right answer to this movie. And this is the thing I've noticed with a lot of critics a lot recently. They want there to be a single moral or philosophical narrative to be the through line through a single piece of art. And the problem with that is, in order to select a particular narrative over other narratives that may exist in the same material, you have to literally exclude certain information. And what you are faced with here, Bob, is someone who chose not to exclude any of the material he was presenting because it wasn't his job to create a narrative out of it. It was his job to present the narrative that already existed inherently in the thing. It's not the director's job to put meaning in a thing. It's the director's job to point a camera and allow the narrative of reality, essentially, to present itself. But because we now live in a film landscape where directors do literally put a slant or a narrative structure on fucking everything, regardless of whether it's organic to the material or not, you wind up with critics who essentially want the one right answer to pop out at them and be so definitive that all other interpretations are wrong because they can't actually be bothered to put 2 and 2 together. They need to be given 4 from the get-go. Otherwise, they won't be able to understand that 2 plus 2 is 4. That is the level of logic you're dealing with here, Bob. You want one right answer so badly when it's not given to you. When someone goes, I don't really want to give you answers. I just want to present you with information that's going to make you question things. You get pissed off at it because it's being too ambiguous. But when someone is deliberately being hard to define and is your definition of ambiguous, that is a totally laudable thing. Like, this is the other thing. Critics will often say, this movie made me uncomfortable and that's what makes it good. Or critics will often say, this movie was ambiguous and that's what makes it good. But in many cases, their definition of ambiguous is just deliberately confusing. But because Todd Phillips was also not deliberately confusing, and he was actually just trying to be neutral and present a version of reality as it exists, you couldn't even detect that he was trying to be ambiguous. Because to you, ambiguity means deliberate confusion, and to you, makes me uncomfortable essentially means it makes people other than me uncomfortable because I'm smart enough to not be uncomfortable by this. So when you are actually uncomfortable, that must be because it has some moral or socio-political or abstract woo-woo reason to not be good.
I love when you say woo-woo. It just, I can never get over that.
I mean, sometimes it's the only word that fits because it essentially what I mean when I say woo is abstract, ephemeral, and circumstantial to the point of non-meaningfulness.
I know, like these sort of like just weird, just like sort of like rambly, hippy dippy, like gossamer bullshit. Like I get that. It's just hilarious to hear. Like I understand the context and what you mean and what you said. It's hilarious.
You just like the phrase "woo woo" because it's an interesting sort of peppery piece of
yeah, it's just an interesting way to say it. It's just hilarious that you're just describing it as like this sort of like hokey, like hippy dippy, like you said, ephemeral sort of thing. I enjoy that. That was funny.
It's easier than saying ephemeral, circumstantial, abstract framework every time that would apply.
Yeah, I cannot hear you. What did you say, Brainstormer?
I said try and say that 5 times fast.
Woo woo.
Oh, I would, but I honestly don't remember how I put it. I'd have to actually go into the stream and play it back in order to say it 5 times fast.
Huh.
But anyway, let's banana this fucker.
Right.
In other words, a movie that in certain key points looks or feels like it has something to say or might even be about something, but in fact isn't really about anything, even though it seems to have wanted to be and occasionally sounds like it's saying something, but then isn't. To fully get at what I'm saying requires describing basically the plot of the film and its major events, so as quick.
Okay, Bob, the problem you essentially have here is you're looking at a dictionary and then saying, this dictionary doesn't form into a cohesive novel. Because reality, Bob, is complex enough that multiple narratives can coexist within it, and none of these narratives are going to express the entire truth. Essentially, what you have here is the movie equivalent of Seinfeld, where it's really just a amped up portrayal of what everyday ordinary society is like. And because they're essentially okay, I'm gonna attempt to explain my analogy a little better. Before Seinfeld, Bob, every sitcom um had episodes where there would be like a definitive moral at the end and a definitive sort of moral cohesive framework. And then Seinfeld comes along and says, I'm just going to tell stories in a world that resembles our own and let people make their own judgments. And because people are fucking morons sometimes, a lot of people assumed that Seinfeld was about nothing because it was not trying to directly say anything. But in retrospect, we now understand that it was trying to not say anything so much as present a story without comment. And the Joker is very much the same way. It presents a story without comment, and then assholes like you come along, Bob, and say, this isn't saying anything. Because it's not the job of art to say something. The job of art is essentially to provide the language or the platform or the old Shakespeare quote comes to mind, all the world a stage. You're essentially looking at a stage and saying, why is there no definitive happy ending, or why is there no definitive ending to this play I'm watching? Because you're not watching a play. You are watching a portrayal of the world and being allowed to take away your own content. But because you couldn't be bothered to put two and two together and provide the logical content on your own terms, you essentially see a blank stage. There is your problem, Bob. Essentially, and I'm going to repeat this a few times because I really, really enjoy this phrase that I came up with. You don't get the joke, Bob, because you are the joke. What's being mocked in Joker is exactly that tendency to want to read something specific and narrow into everything, even when that thing in question is a portrayal of the world, which by its very nature is intricate and complex enough that you can't say a single narrow definitive thing. Banana.
Okay. This is the plot of the Joker. You were warned about spoilers at the beginning.
Yo, something came up. I gotta go. Sorry.
All right, man.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
See you later, Corrupt.
See you.
Okay.
And then there were two, as usual. But moving on.
Yep.
This version of the Joker starts out as a guy named Arthur Fleck, who is poor and miserable because he suffers from a neurological condition of initially unknown origin that causes him to suffer fits of uncontrolled laughing in inappropriate situations. He lives alone in an economically stagnant 1980s Gotham City with his ailing mother, works part-time as a clown, and dreams of becoming a stand-up comedian and performing on the locally recorded Murray Franklin late-night talk show. During a particularly bad series of events, Arthur...
Okay, Bob, this is a minor nitpick, but I do think it implies at least somewhere your works are going wrong here. That statement you made at the beginning, he's miserable because he has a mental illness, is part of the problem. You want to reduce this down to its simplest parts, but if you take away any of the parts of the Joker doesn't work. Because the Joker is a story that's complex enough and intricate enough that each individual part of it creates a more cohesive whole. Essentially, rather than provide you with a fire truck, let's say as an example, you want to see a definitive object where what is essentially trying to be conveyed in Joker is a concept. Essentially, you want to see just a fire engine, and Todd Phillips is trying to talk to you about the concept of red. You want to see something narrow, specific, and tethered to a specific narrative, but in actuality, Todd Phillips is trying to convey something universal. In other words, you want to see something political, but Todd Phillips is only interested in providing you something philosophical. Put simply, once again, you don't get the joke because you are the joke. The need to see every philosophical statement as a political one. Banana. You haven't been saying much, Brainstorm. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just don't really nothing to say for now.
Okay. Well,
'Cause
banana.
all this stuff's in your wheelhouse. My wheelhouse, obviously, is more relating to the actual film.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, banana.
Drunken investment bankers from Wayne Enterprises Corporation who are bullying him on the subway, which seems to trigger the beginning of a psychotic break and gives him the confidence to pursue a romantic relationship with his pretty neighbor. Because Arthur was wearing his clown makeup at the time, it also creates an urban legend of an anti-breed killer clown vigilante hunting down Gotham's 1%, which inspires billionaire Thomas Wayne to run for mayor on any Law and Order platform, and in turn inspires an underclass revolution clown mass protest movement.
Okay. Again, Bob, the fact that you're listing all of this as just some stuff, and you listed Arthur's mental illness as a causal factor, as in this happened because this happened, is part of the problem. Because you're picking out one aspect of a very complex, universalistic thing and trying to essentially you're trying to stack something that is in its very nature a web. Essentially, if you wanted to put a causal element to Joker, you would have to list everything in the movie and then say, and that's why Arthur became the Joker, because that is how Joker works. It's not trying to make one particular point. It's trying to show you the connective tissue between any number of points. It's essentially saying no one aspect of this is bad enough to do this, but all of them combined is. Essentially, you're trying to build a separate puzzle out of disparate puzzle pieces, and then Todd Phillips is coming along and saying, you know, you only have part of a puzzle there, right? And then you, as the critic, are going, this is only part of the puzzle. Why didn't you give me all of the puzzle in just these few pieces that I picked out? Because you don't have the entire puzzle. Because once again, the thing that you're trying to make in out of this puzzle is too narrow and specific when the point being made is more philosophical and universal and not political. Moving on. Banana.
Arthur subsequently learns that his mother used to work for Thomas Wayne, had an affair with him, and that Arthur is actually Wayne's illegitimate son. But when he confronts both Wayne and the actual records about this, it turns out that Arthur's mother was severely mentally ill, hallucinated her relationship, adopted Arthur to make her fantasy feel more real, and then neglected him, being violently abused by her real partners, causing the injuries that led to his neurological damage.
Okay, small point, but it is left somewhat ambiguous as to whether she made that up or not. It's left somewhat ambiguous as to whether Thomas Wayne falsified those records and he is actually his son or not. And I think the option of that being the case is important to the story. So points deducted for trying to once again declutter something that is supposed to be intricate. Banana.
Right, hold on.
He also realizes that he himself has been similarly hallucinating the romance with his neighbor and learns that Murray Franklin has used a video clip of him bombing at an open mic comedy night as the subject of mockery on his show, causing him to snap, murder his mother, and finally adopt the identity of the Joker, agreeing to appear as a guest on the Franklin show with the aim of committing an on-air suicide. But he is instead riled up by the surprisingly positive reaction of the audience and an outside mob of clown masked protesters to his off-the-cuff rant against the madness of society that he murders Murray instead. Finally,
Banana. He's only halfway through a point, so I can't really respond to it.
when a police cruiser taking him to jail is destroyed and Arthur himself is rescued and revived by the army of clowns now destroying the city, the Joker strikes a triumphant pose as not far away one of his self-declared minions stalks the Wayne family into an alley and shoots Thomas and Martha dead so that Bruce can begin his journey toward becoming Robert Pattinson like 2 years from now. The end.
Golly.
For the record, there's no. The Joker movie and the Robert Pattinson Batman movie aren't connected at all. Not to my knowledge, anyway.
At least not yet. I do think probably that, especially after Joker moves past 1 billion, that they will try their damnedest to try and work this in somehow.
I really feel like they shouldn't, honestly.
Honestly, I think they could, as long as they make the resulting universe the right tone. If they try to tie this into a BVS style universe, then they're fucked. But if they actually try to shape the upcoming Batman movie into something more along the lines of Joker, that could work. But much the same way as I always thought that Jared Leto Joker was the Jason Todd Joker, not the original Joker, I do think they're going to have to make whatever Joker they introduce in the new ones the second Joker, because of course, by the time Bruce is of his current, of the mid to late 20-somethings age that he can actually be Batman in, Arthur's gonna be in his late 50s, early 60s. So kind of need to address that.
Yeah. Okay. Teen Titans Go clip upcoming. Incoming.
Sigh. Banana.
Lives in this dangerous neighborhood, Dad. Oh, stop! You can't go down there. That is Crime Alley, you dumb.
So, as you might have
Whatever.
surmised, there are a lot of different angles from which to point out that this movie is extremely dumb in a way that makes the self-seriousness with which it takes itself particularly bad approach. The wrong notes played in the loudest key all the way through. You could literally start your what the hell went wrong with Joker doctoral analysis in 100 different ways, and they'd all lead to the same breakdown. But since I don't have all day, I'll use the one that jumps out at me the most clearly. Why does...
Okay, Bob, you've already defined some notes in the song as wrong. And in the immortal words of Adam Savage, well, there's your problem. You're not interested in listening to the music being played for you within this metaphor. You're too focused on determining which parts of the song are played right and which parts of the song are played wrong. How about you save the judgments for actually after you've internalized the movie? How about you save the judgments of the music until after you've listened to it? Because if you try to draw out a single theme being played above all the other themes, you're going to always be wrong, because each part of the Joker is additive to the Joker, because it's not just a story about classism or a story about racism or a story about the 1980s and how it's similar to today, or a story about society. It's a story about the world and life of Arthur Fleck and how that is similar in many ways to our world. And that is meant to say something more universal about human nature and not about politics or specific personal woo. And that's the problem. You want something narrow, you want something specific, you want a single moral that you can take from this. But this isn't Full House or Three's Company or Cheers. This is Seinfeld, a show that is more interested in depicting the world and letting its audience draw their own conclusions about said world through that mechanism than it is about saying something specific about that world.
Actually, it's funny that you bring up Seinfeld, because you remember that trailer I had sent you?
Yes, the Joker.
Yeah, it's where George from Seinfeld essentially became the Joker.
Yes, and to be fair, I made that observation like 5 minutes into seeing the Joker, because of course I am familiar enough with Seinfeld to know that George Costanza did it first in regards to the "We live in a society" memes.
Funny trailer.
But it is nice that somebody else also picked up on it enough to make a Joker.
Uh-huh. That brings up the
And
question.
Hmm?
Nothing. What were you going to say?
no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to start the video game with the question posed here. Why does this movie take place in the 1980s? He says.
Does this movie take place in the 1980s?
Because Todd Phillips wanted to make an 80s movie, because 80s movies were some of the last ones that were allowed to be made that didn't require a specific political narrative.
Plus,
It was
also harkening back to Martin Scorsese, some of his earlier works like King of Comedy and Taxi Driver, which essentially was his kind of
essentially in the same way that Ant-Man owes its themes to heist movies, and Guardians of the Galaxy owes its themes to like space operas and sort of outer space romp movies. The Joker owes its heart and soul to essentially what amounts to the genre of Martin Scorsese and Tarantino movies. He wanted essentially to prove that you could make a Martin Scorsese movie with comic books, which is apparently something that not even Martin Scorsese realized, because Martin Scorsese is a fucking idiot. But that's a whole rant for Sunday. So there.
Right. Okay.
Or annoying stuff like there's no way Arthur Fleck is on 7 psychiatric medications in the mid-'80s and not basically comatose all the time, because prescription strength was a whole different context back then, and they're imposing a 2019 opioid psych medication context on an 80s setting. Or how a huge plot point turns on what's essentially a video clip going viral, which didn't just happen back then. I'm talking about the one.
It only went viral, quote unquote, in the context of Gotham, which does happen on a local basis all the time, because there are such things as local channel pop. And also, did it ever occur to you that maybe Arthur is just that insane that he needs that high of a dose to even just function as a normal human being?
Right. I also subscribe to the theory that technically this movie is kind of Joker's interpretation of him kind of creating Batman, as opposed to the idea of Batman creating the Joker.
If I have a pass, I prefer it to be multiple choice,
Right.
etc.
Yeah. That's the joke at the end of the movie, by the way. I think, at least.
I think the joke is I'm going to show you. Essentially, Joker turns out to be a universalistic Rorschach test, where everyone will try to see everything in Joker except for the interconnected tissue that makes universalistic sense. In short, Bob, once again, and I'm gonna enjoy saying this because it's so the case I could cry. You don't get the joke, Bob, because you are the joke. You're too busy looking for themes to actually just process what's in front of you. because it's not trying to tell you a story, it's trying to show you a world and letting you make your own conclusions about the story, kind of like real life. Kind of like Seinfeld, again, which is why I'm making the Seinfeld reference. Banana.
Why of these issues. You see, setting a movie out of time, especially in the recent past, is a big undertaking. It's probably where most of this movie's $55 million budget went. It's not about money. It's about sending a message. You have to change the background.
Sorry, just again, 20 thing.
Banana.
Lighting, dress sets down to tiny details, get old cars, old clothes, old TV and video clips, match reference photos, digitally alter the skyline if it's a real location, all kinds of stuff. So there's usually a specific reason it has to be done, a point that the story is making or a portion of the narrative that can only be conveyed in the sense of that temporal context, usually in a socio-political or historical reference point. But basically,
Wait, no. You can set something in a different time period without the time period technically being relevant.
Bob, because different time periods have different atmospheres, and sometimes those atmospheres are worthwhile in their own sake. But this is the problem. You want it to be for a socio-political reason, and instead you're offered a socio-politically ambiguous philosophical story about the nature of life and the nature of human nature and the nature of society, but not in a political context, and you can't handle it. So once again, Bob, you don't get the joke because you are the joke. Banana. Unless you have something to say, Brainstorm, which you are more than welcome to. I could sense it was touching a filmmaking related nerve in you there. Brainstormer. Do 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 do.
I'm back.
Where did you go?
I just had to throw some things out, and I thought you'd be talking more.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
All right. Banana?
Banana.
basically none of Joker's socio-political reference points have any connection to the historical context they're being juxtaposed with, and neither does that juxtaposition provide any meaningful counter-context. The anti-rich people clown mobs are a Joker-fied mashup of the Occupy Wall Street and Anonymous movements, both of which were phenomenons of the early 2000s. They don't make sense transposed into what we're, I guess, supposed to take as an otherwise similar recreation of a 1980s environment, because urban mass violence flashpoints in the 80s were almost always about racial tension to one degree or another, and there's no context given in the movie for anything happening that's making Gotham's situation any different.
Okay, Bob, you forgot one, and it's very, very telling that you forgot one. The other one you forgot, Bob, was Antifa. I wonder why you forgot Antifa. Could it be because you didn't want to be caught dead judging Antifa, lest you be finding yourself on the wrong end of a brick, sir? And did it ever occur to you that this is exactly the point? The overt focus on race of the 80s left too many unanswered questions and left too many undiagnosed problems, which led to further problems later down the line, which manifested in the form of Occupy, Anonymous, and of course Antifa. Essentially, could it be possible that Todd Phillips ignoring the socio-political woo you're spouting, sir, is a way of showing that those things are less relevant than you want to believe they are. Essentially, Todd Phillips is looking at the films and the culture of the 80s and going, you know, there's stuff about the 80s that you were ignoring, and they directly correlate with things that we are currently in the process of ignoring. Essentially, Todd Phillips is trying, I think, to provide the side of the story that you didn't see before, and because you already are comfortable with the story you were told before, you are basically telling him he was wrong to do that. But Bob, this is the thing. In movie criticism, one of the sort of mainstays of it is when a movie treats a particular theme or a particular motif as less relevant than others, it's to show that that particular theme or motif is less important than the point that they're actually trying to make. So, Bob, what point is Todd Phillips actually trying to make? If he finds the racial element of the 80s to be irrelevant and the socio-political woo of the 2000s to be irrelevant, could it be that he is trying to get at a larger point that connects those things? If you add those things together, what do you get, Bob? That's what Todd Phillips, I think, is trying to get you to do, because he's trying to make a universal point about the nature of our world and society and human nature and so forth, and you're demanding he make a political point when his whole point is basically politics is less relevant than you think it is. Please get the fuck over yourself. And that is part of what makes you the joke, Bob. And that is exactly also what keeps you from getting the joke, because people who are the joke don't tend to possess the self-awareness to get the joke at their expense. And if they do, they get very, very offended. Kind of like you were doing just now with Michael Moore, who was very obviously trying to tell you something that you weren't seeing, and rather than actually look at the thing you didn't want to see in the face, you are now coming up with all sorts of rationalizations to avoid doing that exact thing. Banana.
Also, the fact that they don't really touch upon, like, go super in depth with the quote unquote themes or, yeah, I guess quote unquote themes, is because Arthur as a character doesn't really care about that. He's the reason why he kills those guys is obviously in self defense. What people take from that, like the public, that's on them.
Yeah. Again, generally speaking in film, when you touch on a theme and then ignore said theme, it's to show how shallow or unimportant that theme is in context. So what is Todd Phillips getting at by saying, basically, those socio-political themes you want desperately to see in this are either shallow or irrelevant or both? Could it be that you inserting political woo into everything, Bob, is blinding you from more universalistic human nature and the nature of reality, Bob? Could that be the point he's trying to make, maybe? Kind of like how Seinfeld was like, well, if you look beyond the basic bitch morals of every other fucking sitcom, there's actually stories about humans and human nature to be derived at. But no, just like the people in the 90s went, this is just a show about nothing, you're going, this doesn't have a moral message, therefore it can't be saying anything. Derp, Bob. Mountains and mountains of derp. And of course, bananas.
Speaking of which, the lone historical allusion in the film is about that very thing. Joker's first killing on the subway and elevation to folk hero status by the media is a clear evocation of the 1984 Bernie Getz shootings, where a white guy named Matt shot 4 black teenagers he claimed tried to rob him on a New York subway and eventually surrendered to police claiming self-defense, but was later revealed to have said a bunch of really, really suspicious racist stuff leading up to it, and also the kids were maybe just panhandling and the whole thing was a huge scandalous mess. But that happened after the media had already spent months writing about a heroic subway vigilante.
I don't like the twist this joke is taking.
And so Joker's seemingly
Okay, let him finish the point. Banana.
edgy maneuver of evoking this famous event, cutting out its distinctly 80s race politics and substituting the visual language of 2019 class politics, allows it to say, it's the same way that Arthur's issues with cuts to his social services and medication have the look of an 80s healthcare system.
Allows it to say, Bob, that the kind of overlooking hysteria that led to the Bernie Getz scenario is exactly what's leading to the problems of current 2019. Essentially, the message of Joker, or one of the messages of Joker, because again, I think to try and narrow this down to any one particular message that's not like a paragraph long would be to minimize it. One of the messages is get the fuck over yourselves, take the political lenses off, and look at what's in front of your face for 5 seconds. And you might find a more universal, more philosophical, and more objective way of looking at things. But because your bread and butter thrives on exactly that, Bob, you are reacting to this and saying, no, I demand you morally and politically and philosophically pander to me or else. And no one is fucking giving a shit about the or else because everyone else is sick to tears of the political woo in every fucking thing and is just glad to have a universalistic story again for 5 seconds. And again, you wouldn't notice this, Bob, because you totally do buy in to the internal rationalizations of our current society, and therefore you don't see the joke. And once again, I must point out, the reason you don't see the joke, Bob, is because you're probably part of the joke. You are the thing being mocked. And because you'd rather believe that no one can mock you than actually acknowledge you're being mocked, you see no joke, where there is definitely a joke. And everyone else around you is laughing at the joke at your expense while you are sitting there dumbfounded at how someone could even make a joke about you. Because you are totally serious at all times and never do anything ludicrous or funny. Right, Bob? Banana.
But are presented in the manner that's all about 2019's various prescription, addiction, opioid crisis, or the viral video thing, which is trying badly to plug a critique of present-day social media shaming of ordinary people into an incompatible era where the big concern about media privacy was paparazzi and celebrity tabloid obsession, using cheesy references to a movie from that era about that thing. A movie that was, of course, a thematic reunion feature for the director and star of another movie that Joker takes the bulk of its late 70s, early 80s reference cues from and very much wants you to be thinking of at all times, Taxi Driver, because that's a great film, perhaps the great film, about an alienated loner losing his grip on reality and turning to violent power fantasies in an unfeeling urban hellscape. It created the universally understood language of such films, and while Joker may be running on fumes, those fumes are an understanding that if it can recite the language phonetically, it doesn't need to understand or speak it.
No, Bob. It is once again providing aspects of the story that those movies failed to give. Because, Bob, when you take something as complex as reality and you superimpose certain aspects of it and completely de-emphasize other aspects of it, you are missing the data that would be provided for you if you didn't de-emphasize those things you de-emphasize. Essentially, Joker's point is look somewhere that you wouldn't normally think to look. There might be meaning there that you're not seeing. And you might be the blind Ernie Getz style journalists who choose to see a narrative in everything rather than simply look at things as they are being presented in front of you. Meanwhile, everyone who actually gets something out of the bits of reality that you are unwilling or unable to look at loves this movie because they get the joke and you don't. They get the joke of people are being ignorant by hyper-focusing on certain things while completely de-emphasizing other things. And they are more than willing to finally praise a movie that is at least inverting the color scheme a little bit. But as it stands, Joker doesn't even necessarily do that because Joker is attempting to provide you with a rainbow. And because you're essentially looking at a rainbow and seeing, well, all these colors are coexisting and creating a larger whole. But what is the larger whole saying? That's what you're doing, Bob. Because you need one or the other of these colors to be hyper-emphasized and other of these colors to be de-emphasized to create the bas-relief in your own mind to make a point, rather than look at the rainbow and see what you can say about that rainbow. Rather than make the very special episodes of the sitcom that have the definitive moral at the end, try to look at Seinfeld and see what it says about the whole that everyone else is missing. Ah, banana.
And that's what I mean by this movie not really being about anything, because it's all texture with nothing underneath it. Arthur's big speech sounds and directed and is staged like a big important scene where something meaningful gets said in a movie like this at this point.
Okay, Bob, the reason you don't see any of the things that are underneath those textures is because you don't consider underneath those textures to be valid. Essentially, one of the things Joker does is it functions rather perfectly as a companion piece to The Dark Knight, where the Joker of Dark Knight asked, "Why so serious?" The Joker of Joker responds to that question. The Joker's "no one is civil anymore" speech is a perfect answer to the question, "Why so serious?" I'll set it up for you, Bob. Heath Ledger's Joker, question, "Why so serious?" Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, here is the reason. Here is the reason why so serious. Because if you avoid the seriousness like the fucking plague for long enough, people are going to slip through the cracks. And if you, Bob, want to look everywhere except what's in front of your eyes, you will miss out on things that are substantive and meaningful. That's the joke. But you are the joke, so you can't see the joke. Banana.
See the movie where you help me out.
But he doesn't really say anything. There are riots where the action and score tell us society has broken down, but we don't know what not broken meant in this world. It's grimy and edgy and poised on the edge of urban apocalypse like early 80s movies were, but without the authentic real world outside the theater context those movies were feeding off of. It's just an echo, a reference, the equivalent of an old-time video filter on a photo app. And what little...
Okay, first off, Gotham, it's Gotham, okay? Hell on Earth, it's supposed to always look like it's shit, because it kind of always is. Even before Batman, it was shit. That's why Batman was created. It's how shit it was.
Yeah,
And
because
Gotham looks that way because it is a timeless thing. It doesn't exist truly in one single place in time. Even if it's given a direct date, it still looks timeless.
and Bob, even if you wanted to provide a single answer to the Joker, it would require you looking at issues you don't consider to be issues and possibly considering that they are issues. For example, did you ever consider that this movie might have some men's rights themes, Bob? No. Why? Because you don't consider men's rights to be a reasonable thing. Do you consider that it might have anti-feminist views, Bob? No, because in your mind there's a moral affixture whereby anti-feminist equates to misogynist and therefore is invalid. Essentially, the Joker's job as a movie is to connect all the dots in the way that people who are not you can see the joke, but you cannot see the joke because you are part of the joke. You are the thing being laughed at. You are the punchline, Bob. This entire video is exactly what the Joker was pointing at and saying, wouldn't it be funny if I made a movie about everything that wasn't this? And then everyone tried to read into this, and then they got pissed off that this wasn't a movie about those things? That's the joke, Bob. You are the joke. And everyone else, judging by the box office of the Joker, is laughing their ass off at you. Banana.
Okay. One sec. There we go.
Semblance of a point it does offer to make contradicts what little text it actually has. Arthur all but bellows that society turned him into the Joker, but we and he just got done finding out that it was actually just his mother that was primarily responsible for like 90% of what happened to him, and he killed her for it. In fact, if you pull out the ultimately meaningless references to other movies and comic book Easter eggs and ignore the filmmakers and Warner Brothers marketing have claimed the movie is about and just went by what's on screen, you might conclude the Joker is just a straightforward, if pointedly extra misogynist, serial killer drama about how the abused, infantilized Arthur belatedly achieves psychotic manhood as the confident swagger.
Okay, Bob. Mothers, right, are part of society. So her abusing him does not disprove the idea that society turned him into the Joker. Because again, part of the Joker's job in this instance is to point at the things that people don't want to hear, to tell you the narratives that you don't want to hear, the bit of reality that doesn't conform to a nice, neat, this side is good, this side is bad hierarchy. It doesn't conform to ma racism, ma sexism, etc. And part of what it's doing there is pointing out, hey, shouldn't we hold mothers accountable when they do terrible shit? That's kind of part of the joke. And once again, because you can't conceive of the idea of a mother being abusive to her child as anything other than a one-off thing that never happened in actuality, you didn't get the joke. But single mother families wherein the mother is abusive become increasingly more common the more people push feminism as a concept into society. But because you're totally on board with the moral schema of feminism, you didn't get the joke. Essentially, Todd Phillips challenged you to have some self-awareness and examine your own actions and your own moral schema, but you couldn't do that because you couldn't put yourself outside of your own head for long enough to see how other people might see the world. And so, rather than see this movie as a movie you don't get, you assume there is nothing to get. And once again, that makes you part of the joke. And by we I mean the people making Joker extremely successful, are engaged in about 2 months or 3 months or however many months this whole controversy has been lasting, game of laughing our asses off at people like you who will look at everything except the blatantly obvious thing in front of their faces.
There was a so the song I played for the intro, the bathroom dance music, which is really good, by the way, and a really good scene of that movie.
Yes.
Someone had written this comment that talked about the Joker, and it kind of explains it, and kind of goes against what Bob here is saying about like how it's misogynist and shit, which in turn makes him a fucking idiot.
Yes, by putting a moral schema on something and trying to banish it from relevance rather than actually internalize any information about that thing.
I'm going to take this off for a second so I can pull up the comment.
Okay. Cool.
Right, so there's no possible way I'm going to say this name right. This YouTube comment. Aaron Hud. Hund. Right. Okay. As soon as the boyfriend of his mother laid his hands on the child, the Joker was born. The Joker was always there, trying to impress people, trying to give people a laugh, something Arthur never experienced in his whole life. You know, the feeling that someone cared. But the people didn't took notice of him, and when they did, they made fun of him. Arthur was the lowest low of society, cared for his mother, didn't eat because there was no money, had never experienced real love, was always alone, and had a shitty job. For Arthur, this was just life, but the Joker inside of him had enough. As soon as he got the gun and accidentally used it on the kids in the train, he felt powerful. Just in a matter of seconds, people who never noticed him heard him. They began to take notice of Arthur. For him, it wasn't crazy. It was just how it always was from the beginning on. Like Carter Burke said, every villain is the hero of his own story. And the Joker was the hero for Arthur, someone who finally brought justice into his dark world, someone who finally could hear the music.
But because these people are people that you've considered not worth paying attention to, Bob, even when faced with a movie that is screaming, pay attention to these kind of people, you are essentially saying, I'm not going to pay attention to those kinds of people because those kinds of people don't exist. And even if they do exist, they're not worth paying attention to. So you need to say something else, movie. But the movie is not interested in saying anything else, Bob. It's interested in saying the obvious shit you keep ignoring. And the longer and more emphatically you ignore it, to the exclusion of literally anything else, the more you are the joke. And my God, Bob, are you the joke?
Yeah. Okay.
During Joker by escaping and killing the controlling, abusive mother figure who'd infantilized him in the first place. Now, I don't know if that's the movie they intended to make, but that's the movie they kind of made. Whoa. Now, look, this is not like a take two of my Joker review where I basically said it was mediocre and too empty to be upset about or doubling down on anything else. I sincerely felt that the manner in which the film managed to be self-righteously bland was worthy of a more in-depth elaboration, and this was that. I also don't think it was a film made lazily or with cynical intent. It's very possible that all of these less than functional decisions that I've observed were made with high-minded intentions, and that Todd Phillips, etc., and the other filmmakers have very detailed, heartfelt explanations for each one. But
Okay, Banana, and now we'll get to the point of why I've been repeating my phrase for most of this response.
the thing about explanations is, well, you want to take this one, Mr. J?
If you have to explain it, Joke, there is no joke.
I'm Bob, and that's the big picture.
And here, Bob, is where we get the payload of this issue. Everyone else gets the joke. Everyone else understands the joke. But you don't have a point of reference to get the joke. And Bob, once again, the reason why you don't get the joke, why you would need the explanation of the joke where other people don't need the explanation of the joke, is because you exist in a bubble where the factors of reality that the Joker is talking about do not meaningfully exist. And because in your bubble, those things don't meaningfully exist, you convince themselves that they don't exist at all. In short, Bob, you don't get the joke because you are the joke. But lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people get at least part of the joke. And that's the glorious thing about the joke. everyone takes bits and pieces of the Joker and considers that to be what the Joker is about. The anarcho-communists and Antifa members think that it's about class. The right-wingers and conservatives and everybody else thinks it's about how liberal bureaucracy lets people down. People like me who are anti-feminist and men's rights advocates are seeing a lot of men's issues in this movie. And it's very possible that none of these movies is the whole story, because the story that is actually being told is a story that simply includes all of these aspects. It's not a story about one particular thing. It's a story that's about all the things, because reality contains all the things. And it's more interested in telling a story about the world and human nature and broad philosophy in absence of politics. But once again, you will never see this because you insist on making everything political, on making everything a moral or narrative exercise, rather than simply internalizing something that you don't understand, because you don't want to consider that there's something you don't understand. And that, Bob, makes you the joke. And we, lovers of the Joker, are going to laugh our asses off at you, at least for as long as Joker remains in theaters, and probably for a good long time after. Because Joker is a classic, and you are the joke. Banana.
No, that's it.
Yep.
I mean, I have nothing else to say. He is wrong on all accounts, essentially.
Yeah. It's honestly funny. That's why I have termed him the joke.
Yeah.
And apparently a joke is hard to get when you're inside it. But that doesn't prevent the rest of us from laughing, and so
Okay. So, with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
Shalom. Now fuck off and get the joke.
also remember, folks, we live in a society.
We're living